Bless the Lord, O my soul, bless it.
Hi, thanks for tuning in to Armor of God. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to be here with us, and hopefully you'll be edified with what we've put together for you here. Anyway, this will be another compilation of different subjects shared by the Exorcists, and this video took quite a while for me to put together to ensure that the topics shared here will be most useful to you and your family. And to kick this off, I'd like to share this from Father Cole, where he talks about the hidden knowledge of God. So to briefly explain, what this means, the hidden knowledge of God is the mystery of what is hidden from us until we one day meet Him face to face.
Well, when we, in order to see God, first of all, God has to give us an infused gift called the light of glory, which somehow enables a limited created mind to take in God totally, but not infinitely, not comprehensively. And that creates within us a tremendous bliss, because we now understand experientially He who is, but not comprehensively. Not even the Blessed Virgin Mary has comprehensive knowledge of God, but she has the greatest knowledge of God, which then leads to a great, great love of God, which then leads to delight in God, which then leads to in perpetuity, constant fulfillment. However, there are saints who have more fulfillment than I have, than I will have. I'll probably be with the least angel. Saint Elizabeth of the Trinity, she wanted to be with the seraphim. Fine, maybe she is, but still limited compared to God's own self-knowledge.
Anyway, what I really wanted to share through this video with all of you in the first place is Father Daniel Reehil's warning about the type of games being released into the market these days. I've played a lot of games back in the day, so I was really quite familiar with many kind of games. But what Father Reehil is talking about here is actually about under the horror games category. I was never really into horror games, to be honest. Even when I was really active playing games day and night before, and the one that I did play until the end was Resident Evil 3, I wasn't really fond of the scare jump, to be honest. Putting that aside, we do see the game developers are going for much darker theme that's heavily leaning towards satanic.
It's come to my attention that the gaming industry, so these video games that the kids are watching, has taken a severely dark and twisted turn in the last 10 years. I guess the genesis of this would be like when I was a kid, Pac-Man, fairly harmless, and, things like that. But now, very dark. There's a new game called Holy Purge Exorcists. It's a popular site for horror game enthusiasts. And players take on the role of priests who are tasked with exorcising demons in various scenarios. But it has very dark things in it, and hordes of demonic creatures, and flying demons, and all sorts of things. And you never know what's in there, You don't know what's in there. There's another one called Diablo IV. Also has deeply disturbing content. It's about the demon Lilith, and it focuses on her. She's a real demon, very powerful, appears as a woman with wings, a dark woman, a dark black figure. And I think at the worst, and something even more strange about this is Kentucky Fried Chicken has joined forces with Diablo IV to promote sales across both ventures. I mean, this is insane. Kentucky Fried Chicken, what are you doing, Colonel? You shouldn't be doing such things. But perhaps the worst one is a game where you're working with the devil himself, called The Contract. And in the Contract game, in which you're competing against the devil, in order to win the game, you sign a contract with the devil. Can you believe this? And people are doing it. And one young man who was 23 wound up becoming a millionaire after signing a contract with the devil. Imagine that. So be careful what your kids are watching. If you have teenagers, you might want to have a chat with them and say, some of these games they're not games at all. They're portals into hell, and you're inviting demons into our home. And there was actually a case where there was a teenager playing these dark games, and when he left the house at 22, the parents moved into his bedroom, and they had all sorts of manifestations happening. And it turns out it's from these games. And the boy had to have deliverance done over him and the house as a result. So you got to be careful. This is not, it's like, I guess the equivalent when we were kids was the Ouija board, but now it's these three-dimensional looking video games where you're actually tangling with demons. And you may think it's a cartoon, but the demons don't care. Once they get your consent, they have you. So be careful.
Now this channel is called Armor of God, where we talk a lot about spiritual warfare. But I guess it's a good idea to share what spiritual warfare really means, and I have one very good explanation from Father Carlos Martins here that I'd like to share with you.
Yeah, so, we have a God who has incarnated himself to save us, and that is because we have an enemy who has led to our downfall. And so the devil or Satan or the ancient serpent wants to stop at nothing to prevent our salvation with eternity. And it is that rebellion against God that led to our first parents committing the sin of disobedience of God. And so we are at war. And if we don't realize that we're at war, then we've already lost the battle. And so having that awareness that we have an enemy that is out, that is out to destroy us, we can prepare for that. And how does one prepare? So there are things that we can do. When one becomes attacked by the devil, when one becomes harassed, that doesn't happen out of nowhere. The devil is strategic. He picks a time in order to attack us, and that can come through just temptation. It can come through what we call a vexation. So that would be a physical attack from the outside, where, for example, the appliances in our home, periodically they break. But if they break with an uncanny regularity, then we're talking now, we've entered the realm of a vexation, of an attack. Then we have obsession, we have oppression, and of course, at the culmination, we have demonic possession.
While explaining the meaning of spiritual warfare is good and all, even though I've covered this subject multiple times in the past about spiritual protection, it's much better to share this as well, about the things that families need to do to protect themselves from darkness.
So what are the things you need to do? Well, first of all, as humans, we are wounded. We have wounds. And so you need to be aware of that. The wounds make you attractive to the demons. Your wounds make you attractive to the demons, just like your open physical wounds make you attractive to flies, insects, and bacteria, right? Parasites. And so what you have to do is tackle your wounds in the light of Christ. If you have a propensity for gossip, you need to tackle that wound. If you have a tendency to drink too much, to be belligerent, to be violent, if you have a hidden life, if you have a closet sexual addiction, if you like to tell lies and have no qualms with that, then you are making yourself attractive to the devil. You're making you're giving your enemy bullets with which to shoot you. Right. And so how do we tackle those things? Well, first of all is to be aware of them. Second of all is to avail ourselves of the grace that Christ instituted. Right? We have the sacraments that we have to pursue. The 7 sacraments are the 7 ways Jesus Christ left to heal the world. We have a prayer life that we have to engage in. If you don't know how to pray, you better learn how to pray. Learn how to do it. Learn how to have a daily encounter with our Lord. But you also need to get whatever help you need to overcome your weaknesses. If you have a drinking problem, that's not going to just magically go away if you all of a sudden adopt a prayer life. You need to get whatever help through AA, through Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever you need to put in place to overcome that addiction, that you have to engage in. And in so doing, you bring healing to yourself, but you also bring healing to your family. Not just at a physical level, because you're improving the general system of your home, so to speak. You're bringing a peace to your home. But also, all of these things done as an act of prayer bring grace to you, and that always overflows into the members of your family. So there's always that benefit. Whatever you do for yourself, whatever improvement you undertake for your own person, then that redounds and overflows into the members of your family. So carrying a blessed crucifix around your neck, a cross on a chain. Back at one time, every Christian did this. Right? I mean, every Christian would have, every Catholic Christian would have a blessed crucifix worn around his neck. Everyone would wear a scapular, would carry a blessed rosary in his or her pocket. And now many people don't do that. So we don't live out our faith in this expressive way. And the detriment is the fact that when we lack those objects, we lack the protection that they avail us. And they do avail us of protection. In exorcism, I use blessed objects, a blessed crucifix, holy water, and so forth, against the demon. And they have a very visible effect. Right? They stop holy water, for example, stop the demon in his tracks. Will stop his conversation. Will stun him. So holy water in the home is something that everybody should use. I mean, it's an incredible grace. It costs nothing, and the effects are so palpable.
Before I share the next clip, though, there's something that I'd like to share with you here, and it's about what Padre Pio's mother taught him to do when someone swore. As the story goes, when Padre Pio was growing up, his mother taught him how to repair the damage done by swearing. As a boy, he was familiar with foul language, as many of his friends would swear or curse, and his initial reaction would be to run away. Padre Pio's mother did not want her children to associate with other children who used foul language, and he interpreted that seriously and would run away from anyone who was swearing or cursing. At the same time, his mother also taught him to repair the damage done. His mother forbade her children to associate with others who used vulgar or blasphemous language. In fact, whenever she heard anyone curse, she would repair it with the expression, "Blessed be God," a practice she tried to instill in all her children. As he grew older, Padre Pio stopped running away from people who swore, but likely tried to do his best to repair the damage of foul language. It's possible that he would have been tempted to use foul language as well, as many of us are tempted on a daily basis. He was human, just like us. Whatever may have happened later in his life, Padre Pio's mother can teach us all a lesson on how to respond positively when confronted with language that offends God. I hope you'll find that helpful. You can actually find the story in the book Padre Pio, The True Story by Bernard Ruffin. In any case, now here's the next clip on the list where Father Reehil did a good job connecting what Jesus said in the Bible to what we are seeing happening today. We must do more than just spread the gospel, however. Salt, most importantly of all, preserves. Thus, we are called to preserve this faith, just as the salt preserved the fish caught by James and John, Peter and Andrew so long ago. And to be the salt of the earth means to pass on the apostolic faith, unaltered, pure of decay or corruption, until the end of time. But of course, if we are going to pass the salt of the earth on to others, we need to sit at table with them, just as Christ did. We are called to bring the whole world to the banquet of our Lord's passion and resurrection. This means that we need to eat salt with all the peoples of the earth, to invite them to become part of the family of God.
We have our president in America is a Catholic. There's the governor of California with many other governors. Christie is a Catholic. Nancy Pelosi, Catholic. All these Catholics with power, position, and a platform where people can hear what they have to say. And they have tossed aside their salt. They are not only are they not promoting the gospel, they're working against it. They're antichrists working against Christ and his message. But the list goes on. It's not just politicians. Did you know that Leonardo DiCaprio is a Catholic? Did you know that Tom Brady is a Catholic? Did you know Alec Baldwin is a Catholic? Yet I've heard none of these people ever speak about their faith, ever. Michael Moore, who tramples down all things good, he's a Catholic. It goes on and on and on. The list is endless. Kelly Ripa, who is constantly promoting psychics and encouraging other people who come on the show to elope in Vegas rather than get married in a church. She's Catholic, evidently. So they have abandoned their value as salt and light and are now, according to Jesus, you are worthless. Now, on the flip side of this are people who have done very good things for the faith, So if you consider, in Hollywood there's not a lot, but, Mel Gibson's not a perfect person, but he's at least trying in many ways to advance the faith. And the Passion of the Christ may be his crown jewel achievement of his life. Patricia Heaton is Catholic, and she's outspoken about being Catholic and her values that are in line with the church. If you look at the sports world, Tim Tebow, to me, has to be one of the best examples of a Christian who lives his faith. He stayed a virgin until he got married. Harrison Buckner, the great field goal kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, who was the reason they won the Super Bowl this year, only 27 years old, and yet very outspoken about his faith. After the Super Bowl, remember all the years going back, they used to always say, hey, what are you doing? I'm going to Disney World. Well, Disney World is now hell on earth. What did he do? He went off to a monastery, Catholic monastery on the West Coast for a retreat, a silent retreat, after he won the Super Bowl. By the way, he also serves Sunday Mass as an altar server. Use pictures of him in his cassock and surplice. And he's recently been in the news for speaking out against all the pride events. So here's a man who's not afraid of speaking truth to power. Good for him. And there's others, there's others throughout our history who've done the same. But this is what Jesus is talking about. This is exactly what he's trying to get us to understand. Your first and only mission is to be true and a true and uncompromised Christian. Everything else is after the fact. So you could be a doctor. You might be a great doctor, but if you don't do it as a clear and visible Christian, you're nothing. You might be a skilled actor or politician, but if you don't do it as a Christian, it's good for nothing. But people don't understand this. They compartmentalize their faith. You can't do that. It is not what God is calling us to do. Ironically, there's even, hard to believe, but there's even some priests who seem to compartmentalize their faith and are not so outspoken. Some contrary to the religion, like Father Martin. But the point is, there's a great battle raging around us, and the world is getting darker. The darkness is growing. Where is the light? Where is the light? I think there's just been too many Catholics and Christians who forfeited their light and their salt. And this is the reason the earth is darkening. If everybody today got on their knees and just said, I am sorry for my sins, I repent of my sinful life, and meant it, has to be from the heart. I think the coming of the kingdom would happen almost instantaneously, where the whole world would be transformed. The power of repentance and truth, speaking truth. is remarkable, but we're not quite there by any stretch of the imagination. So, I would say don't worry about the big picture. We can only control what we can control. That's ourselves and influencing the people in our lives, the people around us, are in the marketplace, the workplace, the family, the friends. And that's and if God raises you up and increases your tribe in some way, well then great, good for you. You get a bigger platform to speak.
Well, since it's the weekend, forgive me for another round of storytelling, because I'd like to share another story of Padre Pio again. We have another channel called Christians on YouTube where we really focus on the lives of the saints, but every once in a while, I'd like to share them here on this channel. Anyway, I'm sure some of you know that Padre Pio was violently attacked by the devil and nearly died, but then he was saved by the Virgin Mary. For one, Padre Pio was widely known for his holiness and his ability to reconcile sinners to God through the sacrament of confession, and his effectiveness drew many crowds, but also many enemies. So it was the spiritual enemies that caused him the most pain. What happened was, one time a demonically possessed woman stopped by and started hurling insults and threats at him. As soon as he approached, the woman leaped at him, screaming incomprehensible words in a deep, hoarse voice. She tried to scratch his face, but he was able to keep his distance. And Padre Pio yelled, "In the name of God, go away." Moving past the mad woman who didn't follow but kept screaming, "I'll make you pay, I'll make you pay." The woman was taken away and a different priest began an initial exorcism of her. Later that night, the friars were awakened by a horrible noise. A little after 10 that night, the friars on the floor where Padre Pio lived heard a frightful thud. It was an incredible noise, as if a big door of the church was being slammed. Then they heard Padre Pio crying, "Brothers, brothers." The friars rushed in to see him on the floor, bleeding from his face. A cushion from the kneeler was underneath his head, which saved Padre Pio from suffering a major blow to the head. The next day his face looked bruised and his eyes were black from the impact he suffered the night before. The woman was back in the crowd and taunted Padre Pio. "I got my vengeance on that miserable old man." Moreover, she kept shouting, "That cushion, that cushion." Later the priest resumed the exorcism and related how the woman was distraught at how that cushion saved Padre Pio. When the priest who had been trying to exorcise her the day before began once more, the woman shrieked, "Where were you last night?" "I was upstairs to see the old man I hate so much because he is a source of faith. I would have done more, only the lady stopped me." It was said that the cushion found under Padre Pio's head was put there by the Virgin Mary. Eventually, the woman was successfully exorcised from the demon possessing her and was grateful for Padre Pio's prayers. She was liberated and became the most happy woman in the world. Anyway, I hope you like that story, and it's not made up, in case anyone thinking it is for the sake of this video. So now let's get to the last clip in this video, and it's from Father Cole again. We've heard and read many times about the angels are pure spirit. We can all assume that everyone may already know what this means when people say pure spirit. But after almost a year running this channel, that's not entirely the case. What some might assume is basic knowledge, there are a lot out there who don't know. So this is why I'm including this clip of Father Cole here, to help you understand better when you hear people say pure spirit.
Pure spirit means a personal being who has intellect and will, but no matter, no body, okay? And exists as an entity, and each angel is a unique species. You know, you and I are in the same species. We're human beings, body and soul. But when you don't have a body and you're only a soul, well, each individual spirit is sui generis, unique. They're radically distinct from each other, yet they all possess something in common. They can think, they can love, because they have an intellect, they have a will. Their intellects and their wills are distinct, really distinct, but they're in their being. Now, once they were created, in that first instant, you might say the second instant, they had a choice. Are they going to show their dependency upon God when God promised to give them the beatific vision if they relied on him? Some of the angels decided, we're not going to depend upon God. We are so beautiful and so great already. We're going to do it our way. And that was their fall. And of the third, all the ranks of the angels, we presume, fell. That's why in hell there are various levels, part to imitate the depth of each, of each angel. There might be fallen seraphim, the lowest of the lowest of the lowest, the diabolical being. So they're the lowest down there. And then there might have been a guardian angel that fell. Well, he's kind of like toward the rim of damnation, but still damnation, still horrible, still awful. No exit. You chose it, and God doesn't send you there so much. You send yourself. In this life, you send yourself as the demons sent themselves. So we're normally given a time to sort of slowly get into heaven or slowly go to damnation. Most of us wind up getting purified after this life in purgatory, but that's another story.
Well, then that will be all for the video this time. As always, thank you so much, everybody, for taking the time to be here with us. And if there's any suggestion or feedback, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments below. Anyway, for those of you who'd like to support our works, I left a link to our PayPal donation in the description box below, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your continuous support, contribution, and prayer. And until the next one, stay safe, stay healthy, and may God bless you.